you don't need to speak a certain way. You don't need to be like, I'm gonna speak with a baritone voice and speak like this, or like, whoa, like get energy. I need to be in state. It's like you are state. You're your own state. You are the fuel to your own fire. What's up, guys? You're listening to Getting Mental with LUKERAY, and we're here to help your mental health. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not cutting that out. It's going to stay there, and having fun doing it. I'm here live from my mum's basement, and today we are getting mental with James. This is the very first episode of the podcast. James, what's cracking?
Dude, thank you. I feel very honored to be the first like guest. This is huge.
Huge, man.
Yeah,
Huge. I got
yeah,
the equipment and everything here. Got the camera, got the microphone right here. So, dude, I'm ready to rock and roll. And
yeah,
thanks for joining, dude.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
So, tell us, what does James do?
Yeah, so what I pretty much I help people that are lost or ungrounded or people that really want to say have that life that they've always felt to be true within themselves through frequency induced meditation. So that's what I do. Yeah.
That's epic, man. So, kind of starting from square one, if we were to talk about frequency meditation, what has been your journey to this? We don't always come
Yes.
in the world choosing the passions that we have, but so what's led you to this moment, to what you're doing now?
Great question. I would just say the question of why. Growing up, I had and I say the privilege, it might sound a little bit funny, but I had the privilege of having my parents actually split up when I was about 3 to 4, 5 years old. And my father was very much go to school, get a degree, not very forceful like some other parents. In fact, amazing, amazing parents, but he was very traditional. And then my mum was very much like do what you love, kind of. I would I used to use the term hippie, but more alternative, I would say, or just a little bit follow what makes you happy, and for whatever reason I had that question of why, in high school. And that led me to, I was nearly going to do a psychology degree because I was curious around why people did things. Why am I wearing, why am I into basketball? Like, why do I love basketball? Like, why do you love creating social content and the anxiety, industry, in the mental health industry? Like, why do people like red? Why do people like blue? I just, I know kind of, it's a bit strange, but I just was always, that was always there. And I would say I was always I wanted to be different to my friends and the path that I was on. I grew up in a very privileged place here in the eastern suburbs in Sydney, Australia. Went to a private boys' school, boarded, had amazing friendships, amazing group of boys, and amazing education. However, a lot of that consciousness, a lot of people were just going down that route of uni, get a job. And I saw, I was doing an internship in my third, fourth year. And I remember seeing and hearing guys, not only in my internship, but people that were in years above me, even, my brother's friends, he's 5, 6 years older than me, and just seeing things on Facebook or whatever, like kind of, and, going out on the weekends, people not really enjoying their lives as much as they used to, during uni days. I remember this guy saying to me, man, stay in uni as long as possible because when uni ends, your life ends, you know. And I was like, well, fuck, that's not right. That just doesn't make sense to me. So there was that question, and then also another friend of mine that I trained with and that I kind of hung out with, and he also thought a little bit different. He introduced me to a guy by the name of Tony Robbins. Uh, all I need is within me now.
Every day, every way.
Every day. And yeah, I read Awaken the Giant Within. It's an amazing book, a really amazing book, and that opened the floodgates for me, man. That just like that changed me, So, and then that led me to A bit of NLP, not too much. Led me to the network marketing industry. So I got involved in that, and they have a massive mindset, personal growth component to it that's built in within the company.
Mm,
And it forced me to get uncomfortable. My ambition and my desire to create freedom for myself in all spectrums is what drove me to say, get uncomfortable, face my fears, read books, do things differently, even in the face of some like hardships. Because I was 21 at the time, so most most blokes back then, even I was, sinking piss, having a good time, you know, getting on it on the weekends, and talking about it on Sunday morning of recovery, and having a good time playing FIFA, playing COD. It was great times, loved it, so good. But yeah, so that's kind of how it all started.
wow, man.
Um, and that's what let and there's a lot more in there, but that's kind of the beginning phase and what really sparked that search. I would
Yeah.
say the search. Yeah.
I think everyone has, there's certain people, and people are what they are. They do what they do. Some people are just very curious from a younger age. What you've just shared there, it's the same for me. I always thought similar when I was younger. I'm like, why is this person doing this? Even as a teenager and a 12-year-old even, me and my dad, we would sit down and we would watch people walk past and would say, where's this person going? What are they doing? What emotion are they feeling? And we'll just sit there and observe people and people watch.
Mm,
And even before that, I've always been very curious as to why people do what they do. And, that often leads to one path or a few paths, but one in particular in my mind, which is, either psychology or personal development, like Tony Robbins and all that kind of stuff. So when you went to, the personal development realm, Tony Robbins and
mm.
Grant Cardone and all those kind of people,
Yeah.
so why aren't you still there?
Yeah, good question. So for people that don't know, I no longer say kind of preach Tony Robbins' work. I used to sell his programs for about 2.5 years, like out of just, I don't know how it happened, but I ended up working for an events company that sold his stuff here in Australia. But look, I think the reason, how do I put it? At the end of the day, I I grew, and I think for me at the time, it served me on my path, on my journey, and it taught me a hell of a lot. Like, do not get me wrong, what I learned from Tony, from sales, from success resources, and all that stuff, you need it. Like, it's really, you actually need it. It's not like
Mm,
his stuff isn't important. It is important. It's really important. Even with the tools around anxiety and the tools around talk therapy and observation, all those things, really important. But to put it simple, I just wasn't happy with the results I was getting with my life. And I don't like, it's actually quite interesting because I didn't want to admit that just then, but that's the reality, and for whatever reason, whether you call it a feeling, intuition, and this is where we get a little bit ethereal, but there was just this pull and this desire to work with this bloke, Mars, over in the States, because I remember I did one of his sessions, it was recording, and I had all of this emotion come up within 15 minutes, and this, yeah, this feeling, and it just felt real, and it felt like I was home. And that's why I started to, and it didn't happen straight away. I got into frequency induced meditation uh, in 2016. I did it for about a month, and I was meditating anyway, but this was just this kind of specifics, again, just a little little deeper than just say I mean, it incorporates mindfulness and say frequency. So, but anyway, I didn't really dive into it until the end of 2019, mid 2019. And in between that, I dived into breath work, all sorts of personal development, spiritual development, business development, workshops and coaches. And it was just a feeling, man. And I I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't know why the fuck I hung in there, to be frank, because anyone looking from the outside in would have thought, bro, you're an idiot. Like, you've got a great job, you know, you have that ambition, you're charismatic, you're confident, you know, you're not afraid to go and approach people for business purposes, you're not afraid to approach women. Like, I had built myself up, right? And so when I went into this and I started to say, let go of those ambitions, I didn't, no one said it to me, but I kind of felt like there might have been a question mark, like, is he okay? And the reality, and it's funny because when I first started like Tony Robbins, my mates, I changed, and my mates were like, "Fuck, is he okay? Like, Macca, like, are you good?" Like, and I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm the best I've ever been." Like, okay, and the same deal, you know.
Mm.
I was, I I had no desire for goals. I had no desire for, and this is skipping a lot. It
Mm.
struggled. I had to battle with this. This was like huge because I'd learned about, you know, you need to set goals, you need to strive for them. You gotta, like, that's the key.
Goals, goals, goals.
Um,
1 year, 5 year,
yeah,
10 year,
yeah,
20 year,
yeah,
40 year.
yeah,
Keep going.
yeah. You know, like, progression is the recipe to happiness. If you're
Mm.
not progressing, you're dying, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, uh, and again, you know, I would say it was my spirit or my essence, my higher self, or, you know, my heart, for whatever reason, kept me there, and it was the best decision I ever made, ever made. Yeah. So.
Yeah, man. I think that there's, for me, the biggest realization that I've had, especially this week, and just speaking to people and connecting with people in what
Mm,
I'm doing, it's a lot about understanding that sometimes you aren't in control, and there's great power to that. I always thought that, especially right, and you can relate to this. The personal development stuff is all about you have 100% control of your life. You can
yeah.
choose whatever the f you want to do,
Yeah.
and you can choose your emotions. You can choose anything,
Yeah.
and that ties back into the incantations, right? It's like every day and every way I'm feeling like would run around parks, like you and I we used to, not together but separately.
That's so
Run around.
crazy that you did that and I did that. It's so
This is when I
funny.
was 17, bro. Like I was running,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
that's yeah.
down the park just over here, and I was running around and like, whoa, every day and everywhere, like going wild.
Whoa! So good.
And that came from the idea, and I think it's has its benefits to a point, but that
Yeah.
came with the
Yeah.
idea that I'm in complete fucking control of
Yeah.
whatever the fuck I want to do.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's empowering to a degree, to about this level here. And it taught me that I could, do whatever I want, but that also disempowered me because it made me think that if I, because sometimes you don't know what you want. Sometimes you got to listen to that weird feeling inside your boy that tells you, dude, you got to be a meditation teacher. Dude, you got to talk about mental health. Dude, you got to do this. And it might be right for right now, and it might not be right for 5, 10 years from now. So, I think for about the first maybe 9 years of doing this, since I was 14 to, actually, you know what? Not even 9 years, from 14 through to last year, I had that same mindset. And I'm just realizing it now on this live, right? On this Zoom call. And in my mind, I kept thinking that if I decide to be a multimillionaire, then it's simple, Luke. Just write some goals out, aim towards those results, and just keep doing that. It's going to work. But it would never work. It would never fucking work. And what you said then really resonated to me. And to add to it, often the power is knowing that you're not in control, and that intuition, your inner tuition, is what's going to guide you to what is right for you. So that's what happened with you, right? You had this experience. Sounds very similar to mine, of going through this personal development industry and having that mindset of I can do anything, and
Yep.
then realizing
And
that
stick commit and also commit. You
yes,
know, you create your vision of your life and you commit to it. You know, the failure isn't an option.
yes, and if you fail, it's your fault. You fucked
And
up.
you gave up.
You gave up.
Right? And also, to add, you were saying, you know, oh, it didn't work. Like, I was trying to be a millionaire and it didn't work, or make a lot of money, it didn't work.
Mm,
You know, there'd be and there's no I don't want to say this with malice, but again, there would be some people out there who'd be like, well, you didn't try hard enough. You weren't flexible
So
enough. You didn't use the right tools and the right systems, which is true. That is true. But, and sorry to interject, but
no, please.
there, there's a brilliant idea that you've shared with this, and it's like most people don't know what they want. And what if, what if what we read in personal development, and I'm not trying to I mean, fuck it. Let's just get rid of personal development.
Yeah.
What if the goals that you created or the desires you had, right, they came from your conscious mind and they were only like a pebble or
Mm,
a drop in the ocean
yep.
of your potential? So, and your potential being not making $1 million and just that, it's not monetary, because again, with today's society and especially with men, but I would say with women, not it's more men, but I would say masculine women as well, is business. That's money is value. Money represents your worth, right? So, but this potential is like, no, it's not just the money. Like, what about beautiful relationships? What about your health? What about your enjoyment, your fun? Like, being at home, like peacefulness, and
I like
then
that.
also money. It's not just money at the sacrifice of everything else. And you hear it a lot in the industry. It's like sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. You got to make sacrifices. It's like, well, fuck, I'm not going to sacrifice my relationship with the person I love. Fuck no. And that's what I did. I would
Me too, bro.
sacrifice. I sacrificed relationships that I'd built over 10, 11 years. I went through, puberty. I went through, hard times. I went through, you know, you know, going out and meeting chicks for the first time, adventuring, traveling for the first, like so many first times with these friends. And because there's that consciousness of leave your friends and strive for your goals, it's like, I damaged it a lot. And thankfully they're coming back. Um, but I genuinely believe the new way is you don't need to sacrifice that. You don't need to. And you can organically grow everything.
Or if
Um,
you want to, you're not conflicted about it, because
yes.
that's the main issue, right?
Yes.
And it's
Yep.
exactly what you're saying now. I spent so much of my life, like, in books, it would tell you to be a certain way and do something. And of course, you can put it down to my capacity to not see the difference between what's true right now versus what's true in
Yeah.
the future, and contextualizing it as well. But I would, I'd read books on NLP. And I remember this specific memory just came up just then. I was walking out of my school in the back entrance, and I was with this chick, and she liked me, and I was starting to like her, and we were crossing arms, and I had in my mind, hey, remember NLP, kinesthetic? She's kinesthetic. It's like, do this and do this, and I started doing like these kind of robotic things, and I'd hold her a certain way. I'd slow my speech down to be like NLP, to be like kinesthetic type, because they're like slow speaking.
Mm,
And I remember, whether it worked or not, and I don't remember, is not the issue here. It's the conflict that I remember feeling inside doing that. It's the
yes.
conflict of learning that I had to, uh, you know. So some people, right? Some people are just not. They're not hustlers, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's not a bad thing at all. Some people just want to go to work and come home and live their fucking life.
Yeah.
But then they say to themselves, but Gary Vee or Anthony Robbins, or not Anthony Robbins, but more Gary Vee and Grant Cardone say I should work 7 days a week. And I did that as well, bro. I remember my old job. I did 7 days a week one week, and I just felt torn up inside. I'm like, no, must push forward, must make more calls. And it's just, so I think that, and I think this ties back into just any advice in general.
Mm,
Advice is only contextual,
yep.
but also on top of that as well,
Absolutely.
you can only receive what your consciousness is ready to receive,
Yep.
and that's the work that you do. Do you want to expand on that a bit?
On what specifically? I mean, what you just shared. I mean, I totally agree with it. It's
Yeah.
everything's contextual. And another point on that is that, uh, and this I'm just reflecting on myself. So whoever's
Sure.
listening, this may be for you. This might not be. If it resonates with you and you feel like shit, I think that's kind of me. Then it probably is you. But I had no boundaries. I wasn't solid in who I was. I was looking for myself, and this is
Huge.
this is just this is like a challenge within the industry, because most people who go and go to the workshops, do the things, they don't know who they are, or they're trying to find themselves, or they're trying to improve in some way. And there was a point where, even though I thought I knew who I was, I actually wasn't living from the true James. And
Mm.
you even mentioned it. I remember we were hanging out at Zach's place, and I'd met you out, and we'd partnered. Then I pitched you isogenics and all that, and it was great. And and then there was another time where later on, when all this shifts happened, we hung out, and you're like, bro, like
Like that, bro.
you're like, something's different. And you weren't the only one, man.
Mhm.
You weren't the only one. I caught up with another friend at his birthday, and we were hanging out, just bantering. He loves bantering, and him, big Kiwi guy, and he's loves surfing, and we're just having laughs and fun and this and that, and he's like, dude, this is like the weirdest thing, and he's known me for like 3 years, and he's like, I feel like I'm actually meeting the real James for the first time, like the real Macca for the first time tonight, and I was like. Thank you, because I knew what the shifts were happening, but at the same time, I was like, wow, like I thought I knew who I was, and I thought I was coming from that place, but people like you, people like my Kiwi mate, and many others, they could see through it. They could see that no, I wasn't actually being myself. So, uh, yeah, it's crazy. Sometimes what we think we know, we don't actually know. You know. So it takes a level of awareness, and I'll use the word again, but like commitment. And I mean, I don't want to say humility, because but actually humility. And don't get me wrong, ego pops up for me, to this day. I made a little joke about spiritually bypassing, and Carolina and I had a massive laugh about it. But sometimes that creeps in for me, but give it maybe an hour, or maybe 30 minutes, or maybe a day. And I'm like, okay, no, like, and even in that moment, I'm like, bro, you're kidding yourself. Like, just have the chat. I like, okay, fine, fuck. I'll like be real. I'll share what's real. So, yeah.
Huge, man. And just to tie that back into current events, I watched the McGregor fight on the weekend.
Mm.
Are you familiar with Conor McGregor?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So he fought Dustin Poirier on
Okay.
Sunday, Saturday in Las Vegas, and so he in 2017 he was the first person in the UFC in mixed martial arts history, not mixed martial arts history, sorry, UFC history, to hold two belts in two different weight divisions simultaneously. And after that he kind of went downhill. He started to get in a lot of trouble. He
Yep.
started to just pretty much do the fuck he wanted to do, right? I mean, the stuff that you would do if you all of a sudden, I mean, for most people, I don't know, I can't say you specifically, but just people in general, someone gave you like $200 million, would just go out and do like just run amok, get shit faced, do this kind of stuff. I don't know him, I don't know what he's done personally. What I do know is that from what I can sense and what I'm tuning into, so he lost the fight, right? And he broke his leg,
I
like
saw I saw that.
he snapped it, right?
I saw that. And sorry, you go, because I have my own theory about it. But yeah, you go.
Sure. And you can tell me after. He lost the last fight, and in this first round, he was losing anyway. Like he wasn't not doing too well, and he'd been really focused, really into it. And where I'm going with this, right, is the ego, right? You have someone who, you know, in 2013, 2014 was on the paycheck, on the dole, I should say, sorry, in Ireland, and getting, what it was, 300, $400 every fortnight on the dole, just training his ass off. Used to be a plumber. He had to hustle and build himself up. And in this fight in particular, he was doing a lot of shit talking, whereas the last one he wasn't. So he's kind of lost himself in his own ego. And that's where I'm getting to. And
Yeah.
it's a bit rough around the edges of how I'm explaining this, but
Yeah, yeah.
he's from what I can see, he's lost himself. And I watched a video on YouTube that was talking about the laws of human nature and applying to him. So there's a law called the law of grandiosity. And when someone thinks they're bigger than what they are, And so what he actually what happened to him is, obviously he was confident, whatever. Then all these people started adoring him, all his money came to him, and he thought he was bigger and better than what he was. So he started underestimating his opponents. He started to think he was stronger than what he was, which is probably why he broke his leg. And that really resonated to me what you said, your ego and all this stuff, because I the more that I do in my life, the more that I do things where people are like, wow, it's so amazing. Look at you, look at this, you're so that. The more I'm like, I start to believe it, right? And it's not
Mm.
bad to believe it.
Yeah.
But this week I had to really sit with myself and keep that in check and be like,
Yeah.
hey dude,
Yeah.
I started to
Yeah.
think in my mind that and this is not easy to say publicly, but I started to think
Yeah.
in my mind that I was a little bit better than most people.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I can't, you know what? It's like, I can do this because I'm actually a lot more intelligent than most people. I'm this or that, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, whoa, step back for a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I took a moment. I'm like, the most intelligent person doesn't do that. The most intelligent person is the dumbest person in the room, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to bring myself up from thinking I was here
Yeah.
back to here. And I
Yeah.
think that, and tying it all in, our ego, our idea of who we are and who we think we can be actually blinds us from our true potential,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
And I think that's what your work
Mm.
does. You
Mm.
strip away all the baggage, all the shit that people think
Mm.
they are, which is in traditional terms the ego, and
Yep.
bring them back to who they are.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I love that you shared that. I mean, you were here the other day, and that came up for me, And I was chatting with Carolina, I think in the next morning, and I was
Mm,
like, "Fucking hell! Like, I can't believe like I said that." Um, but it's just yeah. So um, on that note, I would just say it's experience. You might be good at creating content, but it's not because you're better than anyone. It's just because
correct.
you have experience. And you've given it a crack. And that's what I say to my clients, like the work that I do, and being able to read people, and read people like, oh my god, fuck, it's amazing, but I'm like, don't get me wrong, like it's cool, but you have that potential within you. Like everyone has that potential within them. We're humans. Our God-given fucking right. I mean, I'm not religious, although I do believe in. Uh, I won't go into that, but I believe that we are an essence of that brilliance. I call it our brilliance. Some people call it God, but we're a fraction of that. Um, we came from the same thing. Whatever that is. But uh, again, we all have that potential within us. It's just the conditioning, it's just programming, it's just and it's shit, but a bit of luck as well, because what family are you born into? Look at the people in India, like I was hearing some pretty crazy stuff that's happening over there. South Africa, us over here in Sydney, we're in lockdown, but like, it's just not. I mean, I'm walking around outside for my hour. I just went and played some basketball, and there were heaps of people just playing basketball. You know, giving each other space and whatnot. And but like, so it's um, it's just programming, demographics, and societal conditioning that kind of limits us. So yeah, absolutely, peeling that away and bringing us back to nature. And I use nature. I always use nature because that's the genius. It's not. I'm not the genius. Luke's not I mean, we are geniuses. I'm not going to say that. And when I say we, I mean humans. We have that potential to be geniuses, but not in the way of you know um, like Einstein, even though he's a genius, like to me, someone like Kobe Bryant or a basketball player, or even someone that's not at that level but can see, say, the game in a different way, they're a genius because they see beyond just the physical. Or individuals that are really good at business, like friends of ours. I'm like, they're geniuses because they see beyond, just the mechanics of the business. They can see more.
They're
Um,
intuitive with it.
yeah, totally. And where am I going with all of this? But when we come back to nature, again, you look at any ecosystem that's untouched by humanity, and it has this brilliance about it. It has this natural progression or stabilization. A forest just has this harmony. And yeah, animals kill other animals and organisms and feed on other organisms, and there's the life cycle and decomposition, growth. It's all there. Death, decay, birth. It's all there. That there's the brilliance within. Again, you look at a seed; it has the brilliance of a tree within it, but it starts out as a seed. It doesn't. And it doesn't try and rush to be a seed and then rush into a damn tree in a week. No, it enjoys just being a fucking seed in the ground, and it uses that phase and it naturally transitions. So the work that I do brings people back on that clock, of natural, say, expansion. So it's, some people might not, shifts happen quickly. For some, for others, say it takes a little bit of time, because again, it's just time. You got to be patient, and it's not about the work. And this is why some people won't be attracted to it, because it's not just about, it's not about making $10,000 a month, even though that's possible and probably will happen over time. A year, like 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. I can't guarantee that for you, because it might not be right. It might not be pure for you. It might not be, your grandest expression might be traveling the world, being a photographer for the National Geographic, safari, and you meet the love of your life on that safari, and you create a life around that, and you get paid 40K a year. They probably get paid heaps, but yeah, but the fulfillment and the enjoyment and the the enjoyment in just being is there. So that's the difference. Like, I'm not going to guarantee people, although your relationship with money and will totally change, and you'll always feel supported as you move through it. But I'm not going to say, hey, you want to make 6 figures in 6 months? I'm not that guy. You know, I'm not that guy. But that stuff works, absolutely. I would just say be true to yourself when you do it. Come together, become you, reconnect with you, be solid in you, and then if you're drawn to those business modalities, I operate a business. I need to do I need those mechanics. Then go and do it. And this is funny because it's tying back. So I'm going on a big rant, but tying back to reading Tony Robbins and people being lost and not really clear on who they are, is that, well, I read Awaken the Giant Within, and I got all the good, and then I also got all the bad, because I couldn't define, kind of like what you were saying. Everything's contextual. I took the bad. I thought what I thought was right, it was actually not right in the circumstances that I applied it. But on a deeper level, as an identity, I adopted. You hear in, I think it's in Carl Jung, or I can't remember who it is, but we adopt the best and worst qualities of our parents. So that's exactly what I did with personal development. Adopted the best and worst, say, programming from teachings. So, um, and and so the key is to be solid in yourself. So when you learn these sorts of things, you grasp the truth of what it is for you, while staying you. You don't become. I make a joke about I became a Tony Robbins robot. I was like, oh, that's a limiting belief. I was that guy. The inspired unemployed. I
The video,
did
the
a clip
spiritual one.
on someone who reads The Power of Now. Yeah, the spiritual one. That was 100% me. Like, what, and then probably you as well.
Same.
Like, the funniest shit. Like, oh man, I don't know. Like, no, I'm just gonna do this. Like, bro, that's like, why limit yourself? Like, but it's funny because if I'd said that genuinely as myself, it would have been received way differently. Same thing, but from a different, say, source. You know,
Dude, I know exactly what you mean.
you know.
When
So
when you meet people and when you meet women or anyone really in this situation, you could say a pickup line, but it's not what you say, it's whose it's coming from, right? It's who
yes,
it's coming from.
yeah,
So I could say, "Hey, how are you?" But the way I've said it and the way I came to that person is like no one ever has before. So the power is not so much in the words you say, or this is what personal development does as well. It gets down to the specifics of what you need to do to achieve X, Y, Z, but those specifics can't be achieved through merely doing them. It comes as an expression of your energy. An
Yep.
expression of your energy is your unique signature.
hmm
So the work that you're doing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here,
hmm
is not so much focusing on giving people the right words or the right
Yeah.
mechanics specifically to
Yes.
do. It's to
Yes.
give them the grounding and the roots underneath the ground to grow and
Yes.
vibrate as high as possible as the most beautiful tree in the
Yes.
world, being a tree
Absolutely.
metaphor.
Absolutely. Like, to give you an example, I've got a client of mine. He's a performer, entertainer, been in the industry for 30 years.
Mm.
And he dived into this work. He's done mask work, and done a lot of my work as well. So back and forth. Um, and as a result of it, the work he's getting now is he's just getting offers all the time now. And from someone that was kind of struggling with work, you know, and it's safe to say someone with 30 years experience in theater that is stuck with it this long, he works on himself, he does his lines, he does all those things. And I didn't teach him how to do better lines. I didn't teach him how to be a better performer. I worked on his you would call it his vibration or his frequency or his essence.
Mm.
And so now, he's moved really quickly, but now that he's come into it, he's getting all these offers, and he's picking and choosing now. He's like, I don't want that one, or like, I don't want to overwork myself. And he even noticed patterns within him of like, well, I used to be in lack, and I used to get everything because like, fuck, where's my next meal? But now he's like, I don't actually need that, because then I would be sacrificing myself, spreading myself too thin. And now for him, people want him because of his essence, his vibrancy, his shininess, you know, not the quality of his work. Even though it's high quality, the quality is then matched with his resonance.
And that's
So
why comparison is irrelevant, because you
yeah,
can't compare the uncomparable. You are
yeah,
the uncomparable. All
yes,
the things that you do, if someone's done the exact same thing before as you, it
yeah,
doesn't matter, because that thing in particular has only been done by you,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And true authenticity is understanding that regardless of all the circumstances and all the things going on in your life and all the different ways in which people have done the thing that you're doing,
hmm
you can do it in your own unique way, and
yes,
just by being yourself. You don't need to speak a
hmm
certain way. You don't need to be like, I'm gonna speak with a baritone voice and speak like this, or like, whoa, like get energy. I need to be in state. It's like, you are state. You're your own state. You are the fuel to your own fire.
100%.
I think that's huge,
As
man.
Yeah. And it's funny because I used to think like energy was everything. You got to be enthusiastic. You got to be like, whoa, like, and I would be that guy.
True, bro.
Chatting to people at like the Bondi Outdoor Gym and whatever. And I remember this woman who I used to chat with, and she did handstands, and I was into handstands at the time. Anyway, I didn't. This was like on my path into like rediscovering me, and I was super into breath work. And I remember I was just hanging out at the gym, just not really chatting to anyone, just enjoying the moment, just being within my body. At this time, I was like super spiritual. I was like,
Floating around.
like floating around, like, like
Eckhart
and
Tolle. Eckhart
uh,
Tolle. Yeah.
yeah, and she was like, how you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm really good. Like, just, instead of like, yeah, like fucking great, like it was,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm cool. Things are good. How are you? And she's like, really? I was like, yeah. She's like, you seem way more positive before. And I was like, oh, interesting. Like, and fast forward now, you know, coaching basketball and working for this guy, and I wasn't really saying much. I was just doing my thing, coaching the kids. And for whatever reason, he's like, man, like I really love what you're doing. Like you bring a great energy.
Mm-hmm.
Your vibe's really good, this and that. And he ended up paying me more, because of
Boom.
not only the quality, but also again that that yeah, that energy, man. So don't get me wrong, there's absolutely, you need mechanics for sure,
Mm.
to a certain degree, but not at the cost of who you are. You're the your true nature, your true self. So yeah.
So if you're talking to someone right now, say someone's listening right now
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
deep into personal development and they have an
Yeah.
inkling, they have a feeling that
Okay.
something's just not quite right. They've been in it for a few
Yeah.
years, maybe even just a few
Yeah.
months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something quite right for it. What would you say to
Yeah.
them?
I'd say congratulations. Like, good work. Like, you're searching. You're putting in the effort. You're indulging in things that, like, at the end of the day, like, you want to make your life better, and you're showing up. So
Yeah.
fucking awesome work. Um, Two, I would say, um, if you feel like you're still missing something, um, it's not that you're missing it. You just need to, say, reconnect back to it, and it's your vibrancy. It's that unseen version of you. Okay, it's your energy, it's your connection. People would call it their soul, their spirit. I would call it your frequency body. If you look into quantum physics, it's that the 99% that's unseen, right? That is apparently still. I mean, you mentioned the other day that apparently those theories are not on point, but I believe it. Um,
Did I say that?
no, maybe not those theories, but I think, no, the theory of gravity, relativity, Einstein's
Oh
relativity.
yeah.
There was some
It was just
articles
proven
about,
recently. Yeah.
yeah. So, and that's a beautiful thing. I mean, that's another thing, but like, science can be wrong, right? So religion can be wrong, personal development can be wrong.
That's the whole
Uh,
premise of science. It's to
so
prove its inconsistency.
yeah. So I would say, experiment and listen. I do some free meditations on Sunday, 9 p.m.
Hmm.
I would say tune into that. I've got a group on Facebook called Medi Masters, MEDI Masters, MASTERS, Medi Masters. Um, I would say tune into that, see how it feels. You're doing amazing work, and the combination of what you've already done plus this like little key will just open up everything you've wanted. But you got to be patient, and you've got to learn new principles as well.
Mm.
So,
So jumping back to what you said before, what happened with Conor McGregor?
yeah, good one. And again, I'll just, whether people want to believe in these abilities that we all have access to, it's totally cool. This is just my perspective on it. Um, yeah. So, to me, he was getting actually like more pixelated. So no, and it's funny because you say he was lost. He, lost in his ego, and I would 100% say that. He's obviously risen and created massive success, but not at a price. But I would say he's getting just a little, say, disconnected with himself,
Yes.
and
Yes.
as a result, he's not solid. Like, he is literally not as solid as what he was.
He,
Because when I saw that clip, I was like, that's not normal. Like, that's not normal to do that training. I don't know. Maybe I'm not in the UFC and whatnot, but like, he just stepped back, and then his fucking ankle broke. Like, I don't know if there was more to that. I don't know.
there
I
is
just
more
saw
to
that
it.
one
Yeah.
clip. Was there more? Was
There,
he
there,
was he doing a lot of ankle kicks and
so
like
he fractured or sprained it, I think it was I mean a month or something before that. Don't quote me on the exact
okay,
time. And before
okay,
that, there was two kicks that happened. It was when Dustin Poirier put his hand up like his
yeah,
forearm up like that, and he kicked
yeah,
it, and it kind of like hit on there and bended
yeah,
around a bit. Then one of the
yeah.
side kick, yeah. But
Okay,
the
cool.
but the thing is, right now, I agree 100% with what you're saying, dude.
Yeah,
I couldn't articulate before, but what you said was perfect.
yeah,
So being grounded is quite literally being on the ground, being in
and
touch
solid.
with reality, being
Yes.
solid, right?
Yeah,
So, and this, dude, this is so awesome. I love
yeah,
talking about this stuff.
yeah,
Fame and money, what it does, it gives you opportunities, it expands things, but especially fame puts you at a different level to everything else, right?
yeah,
You become up in the air.
yeah.
So you lose
Disconnects.
touch with reality. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
how hard you try.
yeah,
Fame is something that takes something from you that you don't
yeah,
quite get back. You can't
Yes.
replicate it. I mean, you
Yep.
walk out in the street, people are going to see you. So,
Yep.
it's
It's at a price. So like he's created success at a price.
yes,
And that's, you see that a lot. I mean, you look at Juice World, and I only say that because I think you or someone, maybe it was Vi actually, someone sent me, Juice World is quite a famous rapper. You know, he's 21 or 22, and he blew
19.
up in the space of, or 19. He blew up in the space of like a year and a half.
Yeah,
And
with one
he
song.
had he had this brilliance of tapping into that genius space, just like Eminem, and what you and I are kind of tapping into and trying to, experiment with and just have fun with.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, he basically, you know, sold, and he didn't know this, but like sold himself. You know, people don't know this. People don't know that, they're actually that's actually a thing. And
What do you mean
some
by that?
people. So it's kind of like, um, I'll do whatever it takes.
Mm.
Is really? Do you really want to do like, yeah, I no matter what, I'll do whatever it takes to achieve success. Well, what about your family? Would you let your would you destroy your family for monetary success and fame? Would you end your life for success? Create success and then die to make your success a legacy, even more brilliant, even more. And this is where some people's beliefs might not disagree with mine, but I genuinely believe that, you can have that. Again, this is where the success without sacrifice. You can do it without having, because it kind of works in two ways. I know this is going a little bit off, and I don't know if we have enough time to go into it, but to me, um, Juice World kind of, he was pretty dark, man, and he talks about his anxiety and his depression and all of that. He was tainted, you know.
He was.
He was tainted, and so his brilliance came from, like, people would call it the dark side. And then you look at Conor McGregor, he tapped into the brilliance. I would say he would tap into the brilliant side, where, oh,
I
actually
think
maybe not.
both, dude, is shit
Yeah,
talk in the way that he shows up.
yeah, yeah, maybe a bit of, yeah, maybe a bit of both. But again, in at either end, if you go too far on one side, the dark uses you, the light or the brilliance, and I'm just using these terms. You could say bad or good, but they're both there for you, and this can tie in really well with anxiety. Anxiety is not bad. Like, negative emotions aren't bad. It's
Correct.
just how you use them. It's how you manage them. So, but again, with Connor, I just see that brilliance, and even like that kind of, hey, I'll sign this, and it's like a contract, but not a physical contract. Um,
It's
yeah,
energetic.
it's an energetic contract. And yeah. I mean, hopefully, he'll find a way, because he's that guy. So he worked with Tony. He's quite mindful. Law of attraction. Like, he's very. I think he will find his way back to himself. That's mine. I hope. But
Me too.
um, because I genuinely like the guy. Like, I know, like, he does it for show. The shit talking and all of that. Like, you see him, and after the fights, like, he always gives his respect. Like, he's super down to earth. Always, you see the fighter, the showman, and then you see, like, the humility that he has after fights, which is what I like about him. So
And that's exactly, what we'll have to be careful of. We have to be careful of,
yeah,
not just the ego, but, well, I mean, ego is just one way to put it, of the idea that, we can be bigger and better than the world. That
yeah.
there's been, so Napoleon, he said, when he was, before he became who he was, who we all know him as,
What, Napoleon Hill or Napoleon Bonaparte? Bonaparte.
Bonaparte.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Yep.
Before he came into power, he said he had this deep belief in his mind that he was destined for greatness. He was destined for it. It was made for him. And he believed that so deeply. And I think that that's an awesome belief to have in some ways. But where it goes wrong is when you are in power and you do have that mentality, and that mentality blinds you from reality,
Yeah,
right? Don't create a mentality that blinds you from reality. He really honestly believed that no matter what happened, he was meant to be where he was meant to be. So people
yeah,
would, I don't think things have changed that much, but more obviously back then, people were very pernicious, very manipulative, very like
Yeah.
political.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So he had people that were doing that to him and that kind of set him up for failure to take over his spot. And
Mhm.
but he did it to himself as well because he believed in his own hype.
Yeah.
The question that I have is I'm seeing a trend here, and this trend is that the characteristics that bring people to greatness, so like Juice World, Conor McGregor, Napoleon, just for the examples we've talked about then, seem to be ones that make them fail in the long run. Do you think it's a good idea to someone to change their perspective once they've made it, or do you think that that belief is flawed from the start?
It's flawed from the start. So because it's where did it come from? It's again, where did your success come from? Just like very much the question of like, hey man, like don't limit yourself, bro. Like you're really good at playing piano, instead of, and that's authentic coming from, true James versus Tony Robbins James, who's like, man, that's a limiting belief. Like, come on, bro. It's where's the source coming from? So I would say to make it easier, I would just say from the get-go, um, because generally what happens, and this is nearly what happened to me, and this is again just my perspective, my opinion, and but say you have a program of um, success for sacrifice, like I at a price, success at a cost. It's not truly pure because your brilliance doesn't need sacrifice, right? So it is
Mm.
a little distorted. So you grow, you expand, you become, say, an entrepreneur, a fighter, Napoleon, Juice World. You create such an intense identity around it. It takes way longer, if not impossible, but it would take a very humble, aware, almost insane, not insane, but kind of crazy person to dismantle their identity that they'd created over the past 20, 30 years, you know? So initially, I would say start on you first and expand naturally because, and let's just say you did create that success, millions of dollars, fame, whatever, and say you dived into this work and that was a pattern, your life would just crumble. Like you Yeah, like your life would probably crumble because your frequency, right? Energy um, creates your reality, right? Your reality is a physical representation of the coding within your vibrancy. Okay, so if you reconnect back to you, then everything that isn't pure, that hasn't come from the true you, your reality has to change, right? And Einstein went into this. He was like, guys, this isn't like wacky shit. Like this is science. It's like you match the frequency of what you desire, and your physical reality has to change. So this frequency that I'm talking about is your brilliance. So I would see, and I don't work with these individuals, but my teacher does. And he's like, man, like the billionaires that I work with, they're pretty messed up and they take way longer to change because they have so much attachment to the money, to the identity that they've created for themselves. So I would say get on it early, and it's a long-term game. It's not it's not about moving. Whilst it's like a weird paradox. It's like it's not about moving forward, but it is. But the moving forward is in enjoying the now and enjoying you. So it's a little bit, it's a little bit,
I understand.
yeah. But yeah, that's the best way I can explain it. I could probably explain a little bit better, but anyway.
I personally, I mean, are you okay for time? How are you going for time?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, let's go. And then I got another 10, and then I'll have to go. But yeah.
Sweet. I personally struggle with the idea that, with you see people like this, right? The, Conor McGregor's, Juice World, all these kind of people, and you look at them and you see the way that they hold themselves, the way they walk through the world, and the masks they wear, right? If you look
Mm,
carefully, very carefully,
yeah.
Eminem, for example, right? These are all people coming up my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Eminem, very controversial, but it spun around him on the end. Napoleon, very, very controversial, very believed in himself, but it spun him in the end. Juice WRLD, same thing. Conor McGregor seems to be a similar thing, but hopefully he comes back to what he's supposed to. Eminem's
Mm,
pulled himself out of it.
mm.
The point I'm making here is ha- who and do you know? I mean, this is not, you don't have to know this, but do you know people, just tapping into it, people in the world who are leading an example of a quote unquote materialistic successful life, but they have a clean frequency, they have a clean way of doing it. It's
Yes,
not,
that's a great question.
because it's hard.
Um,
I look at these things, man. I'm like, I could do those things, but and it slowly takes from you. You can sell your soul to the devil, as they
it's
say.
yeah, and it's even on the other side as well. Like
Yes,
you look at Robert Kennedy. For
yes,
those that Robert Kennedy is a journalist. The Kennedy family. You know, and there's two sides of the story. Some people are like, yes, Kennedy. Some people don't believe in what he was doing. Or I mean, Robert F. Kennedy. Again, this isn't about vaccines, but he's very vaccine. He's pro-vax. His whole family's vaccinated, not COVID, but he dived into it one night. But he has he's perceived is doing good. And he wants to provide light to some things that aren't there,
yep,
that aren't say broadcasted. But again, he's taxed, man. You look at him and he's his health isn't on point. He that is a sign of being taxed. Even Tony, and I don't want to
I
like
know
name names and whatnot, but he's a fucking brilliant dude. But
he is.
why is his health so fucked up? He and again, I don't want to. I'm not trying to.
Belittle someone. You're not doing that at all.
Yeah, like he's doing amazing work, but again, like success, and this is my opinion, success isn't just business and money. It's not two out of the five. It's not one out of the five. It's not three out of. It's fucking everything.
Huge
It's and everything is in harmony. Your life is a beautiful balance of all of it. Your
ecosystem.
absolutely. Your kids are involved with your work. You're involved with your kids' work. Your parent, your loved ones involved with your like. Carolina and I, and this is what we've had to move through.
So beautiful,
Again,
man.
I'm not perfect. Again, like Luke will fucking 100% know that because I had ego trips coming up.
Still love you
Um,
though, bro.
Thank you. I appreciate it. um, so again, this work isn't perfect. It's just a tool to help you elevate. You still have to face off with stuff. It's still a challenge. But again, now I'm seeing this beautiful harmony with Carolina and myself and us supporting each other because in the work that we do, whereas before it was just very much, oh, me, the James show. But now it's like, you know what? No, like I actually need you, like I actually need Carolina to bridge the gap between, frequency, unseen kind of etherical stuff and bring it into the body, more physical. So she's really great at that. Um,
So what's,
so
sorry to cut you off there, man. What, when it comes to, because for me, like I hear what you're saying, and I'm just being
yep,
completely honest. I hear what you're saying, and
yeah,
I believe it, man. I'm like, boom, this is it. Like I need to
yep, yeah,
really
yeah, yeah,
just humble myself, whatever. But you
yeah,
see
yeah, yeah,
examples in the world of people, like, and you can say they're evil, you can say they're not evil, it doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. So many people that are doing things that are, like
yeah.
unethical.
I'll choose a guy. Oh, unethical. Sorry, you go. Yeah,
No, but exactly what you're about to go on to. But just to narrow it down a little bit. So if you want to be in this is for people listening as well. If
yep,
you're a millennial, right, or if you're someone in their
yep,
teens, which is probably most of this audience listening,
yep,
and they look at people, the role models there in the world that they grew up
yeah,
on, Juice World,
yeah, yeah,
the Kid Leroy, and
yeah,
these artists and Conor McGregor. They look at all the characteristics. It's like be brash, be this.
yeah,
How can we approach this in a healthy way? Do we say we're going to extract some of their values away, or can it
yeah.
really be
Great.
done through a certain layer of consciousness?
Yeah. So,
Or
and
on either?
I'm not trying to like promote the work that I do, but it just is happening organically. Like I would just find you,
Mhm.
find you, because there's nothing wrong with uh uh like Juice WRLD's creativity. Like holy shit, it's fucking amazing.
Is that
You
possible
know,
though without his other side?
absolutely. I wholeheartedly believe it. Absolutely. And I've witnessed it in myself. And I'm not saying like I'm some pro basketball player, right? But I love basketball, and with using this work and then now diving into basketball, my ability to learn and like pick up things and see like the details of the game and like even passing, like there's moments now, like there are some passes that I'm not saying like, I'm just saying in comparison to previously, it's like I'm like seeing stuff that I'd never seen before in a game. So I'm not saying that I'm a Kobe Bryant, hell no, but the consciousness is there to pave the way for you to elevate into that space if that's what you really desire. Does it take commitment and work? Absolutely, 100%. But it's a joy, but even so, even some days it's not a joy as well. You know,
Mm.
some days you just like, the reality is some days you don't want to do stuff. Like some days I'll you know, there's a meditation on, I'm like, fuck, I'm tired. You know, I don't really want to do this. And then
Mm.
I do it, and then I'm like, oh, it's amazing. You know, it's great afterwards.
So
So
just
I
quick.
would say yes, we do have that ability for
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. And just getting a bit more practical now, and we
Yes.
can wrap this up. Let's say, for example, people, they can't access your meditations, they can't join on
Yes.
board with you.
Yep.
What's something that people can do with themselves, by themselves?
Yep.
However you want to format it, you can. But what's something
Yep.
people can do to get
Yep.
to that place where they're coming to a clearer consciousness and a more grounded
Yes.
self?
Yes. So spatial awareness, and you've probably heard me share this many times, but it's I would start off with just 5 minutes or 10 minutes and include this. If you're meditating already, introduce this into your meditations. What do I mean? You want to note your environment first before anything else in your meditation, before your body. And I know there's a lot of people that say, feel your feet, feel your this and that, but you want to note your environment. So your five senses, the wall, the ceiling, the floor, the chair. What can I hear? What can I smell? What can I taste? What can I feel? And really just tune
I'm
into
doing
that
it now, bro.
one.
Doing it now.
Yeah. So um, step number two, and I'll explain why, right? The science. Number two is once you do that, you just, you go through that checklist,
Hmm.
your
I'll do it now,
environment.
bro. I'll do it now with
Yeah,
you.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. Um, just tune into your environment, just where you are. If you want to open up your eyes and look around, seeing the objects, the books, the sofa, the bed, whatever it is. If you're outside, the tree, the chair, what can you hear? What can you smell? And what can you feel, taste? Then step two is noticing a body part. I like to use your spine. So for you, just feeling your spine, noticing from the base. If you're not familiar with your anatomy, I would look into anatomy just to get familiar with the body. But noticing your spine, working vertebrae by vertebrae, all the way up to your neck. Once you're really familiar with your spine, again, this is just kind of rapid, but it's all right. Noticing your spine. Then number three is you want to note, for beginners, noticing an object in your room, say a chair or a wall, for say if you want to challenge yourself, or if you're notice say all four walls or your entire room, how it feels, and then note the distance from either the object or your room to your spine. So again, for beginners, noticing say a book or a chair, and then noticing the distance from that book or the chair to your spine, trying to like just feel out that distance. And just staying here. And then go throughout your meditation, being mindful of your entire body. And then I would throw in another question. I mean, I don't know how much time, but I throw in a question of how can I connect to my truest self even more? Or how can I connect to my best possible self even more? My limitless self, whatever, my most beautiful self even more. And just leave that question open. You don't need to figure it out. You just leave it open. Um, and that would be the initial, say, phase. And then I would scan through your entire body, getting to know your body. So working from your feet all the way up, getting really familiar, taking your time. And, you do this each day, you progress, you progress. And then I would say note your physical form, where your physical body ends, your environment begins. And then arm's length around you,
Yeah.
arm's length up, down, below, trying to feel that. So kind of working through that slowly, but really starting off with that first segment because, and do you want me to just to explain the why behind it?
Sure.
Like, okay.
Absolutely.
So, and this kind of comes to anxiety, and humans are brilliant. We live in the past. We hold on to trauma, challenges. We hold on to our family stuff, good and bad, whatever it is. We can move into the future. We can transport ourselves into the future and kind of create anxiety, unknown fears, or if we're in tune, we can see opportunities. And we can kind of move into the future and go, oh shit, I think this will work, or this is a market trend or whatever. Like you kind of move into the opportunities of the future, and then there's a whole different bunch of realities as well. And it's funny, the inspired unemployed video on the condom buying and the anxiety of like, oh shit, it's hilarious, guys. Obviously check them out on Instagram. When they go into those frames of the black and white and it has those images of people laughing at them and ha 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 and the voices and this and that, you are literally moving into a different reality. You're picking up as a human, you're moving through time and space. So physical objects tend not to move in time and space. A tree is just a damn tree. It's present, it's still. A wall, right? So you use your environment first
Hmm.
to act as a hoist. So if you imagine you've got like scaffolding around you, which is your environment, your five senses, your spatial awareness, then your body, it pulls you up into your center. Does that kind of make sense?
Makes perfect sense. You're
Yeah.
instead of going inwards and then outwards, you're going
Yes.
outwards and inwards because you're
Yes.
bringing it into you to your center as opposed to just to scattering it out.
Yes. Because if you were to go the other way, you still might be just a bit off. For
Mm,
some people, they might be way off, and you're tuning into that, right?
mm.
So it's not as effective. So I would start environment first, then your body, and you pull yourself up. So yeah, and I would just do that. I mean, as corny as it sounds, I'd do that every day, every day for the rest of your life. No, I would, just try it out. Just give it 10 minutes. Try it out once. See how it makes you feel. And if you want to continue on it, I would do that. That's the one thing that people could do.
Awesome,
And
man.
that would just, yeah, that would over time, again, setting expectations, patience, and over time. Do it consistently. It's just like going to the gym. You're not going to be lifting huge weights if you've never trained before. It takes time. So give yourself that leeway.
Epic, bro. And if you were to, if people could never speak to you ever again, or contact you, or
Yeah.
hear from you again, what's
Yeah.
one message or one thing you'd leave to the world?
I would just say like you're way more powerful than you think. Um, and it's your birthright. Like it's not some fairy tale. It's like it's true. You hear it a lot. It might sound corny, but you're way more powerful than you think. So trust yourself.
Where can people find you, bro?
Facebook. So uh, facebook.com/make good with Mac. So make good with Mac, MAC. My Instagram is 2 underscores James McDonald with an MCD double underscore on the back end. So underscore James McDonald underscore, or they can find me at james-mcdonald.com.
Awesome, bro. I'll add
Yeah,
that to the show notes
yeah,
as well.
cool.
Dude, thanks for joining, man. Stay on. We'll have a quick chat afterwards. But
Yeah,
yeah, thanks everyone tuning in and
yeah,
good to speak to you, bro.
was awesome. Love the chat.
Peace.